Okay, this is the cave walkthrough part 2. This is going to be theory, arrangement, everything that's not drops. And so this is the second project file. There's a lot of other stuff in here that isn't in the first, as you can tell by the fact that I can do that. But yeah, there's just a lot to go over in this one. So let's just go in chronological order. It starts with a bunch of water sounds. Okay. And then there is this pad, which is the pad from the drop, the vocal granulizer one. Without any effects, it's a little more obvious that it's that. There's only like 3 effects on this, though. That's such a cool chord progression. I'm going to go over the theory behind it in a second, but it's just so cool. You can hear the spiff droplets thing on that, by the way. This video is going to expect that you watch the first part, so I'm going to mention a lot of things, and I'll be like, that's in the first part. The spiff droplets technique is in the first part. Then there's this. Right? Without any effects, this is excruciating. So I just want you to know before I play this, it is loud. And now I need to give the disclaimer that I did not make this pad in order. I knew how I wanted it to sound and what I was going to do to get there, but like these distortion modules were, I think, the last thing added. So it sounds like this. Here's it without the bit crush too. The reason it sounds like that is because I have this super low-passed piano getting compressed into oblivion. And it has some, like, you know, it's a granular with a bunch of, like, modified settings. But this would sound pretty similar if you did, like, an arpeggiator, for example. So it sounds like this. Then I add this flavor to it. And then we have all these effects. And the first one is the convolver that really tones it down. Spiff droplets trick. Soothe as well. Another soothe. EQ to boost the high highs, and then a balance. Okay. I'm going to go over the theory for these chords when I go to the melody, because the melody is sort of what you need theory to understand, but here are the chords. They're D minor, E half diminished. Oh, whoa, I forgot that I did this. That's cool. Okay, so it's D minor, E half diminished flat 9, resolving to G minor 6, D major 7, E flat major 7, C minor 9. That's really cool. That's jazz. That's some modal jazz stuff. Anyway, and then I'll go over like the theory behind it, why it works, what scales and everything later. Actually, why it works, nobody knows. It just does. Then we have this Reese in my sub. This Reese is kind of weird to talk about because it's a phase plant, and I'm notorious for having overcomplicated phase plants, and this is one of them. Like if you saw the first part, you know I have extremely overcomplicated phase plants. Long story short, it is a sine wave with noise. Layered with a saw wave Reese. The important thing about this saw wave Reese is that this looks way more complicated than it is. I promise it's not that bad. I can also get rid of this to make it look less complicated. These are mapped to the pitch. So depending on what note I play, I did this backwards on accident. The note I play was supposed to have the same phase rate no matter the note, and the way I did that was I changed how detuned these are from each other, but I accidentally did it in the opposite direction. So they get more, and like I increased the amount of difference, and I think I just ended up rolling with that and just saying, yeah, sure, why not, you know? So then I low pass it like heck. And then there's some extra effects like some distortion, phase dispersion. I'll get back to that one. Some crazy EQ, 2 distortion modules, and another EQ. So like, here's like just the distortion. It's a slight difference. Then phase dispersion. Then the crazy EQ shape. More distortion. And then the EQ to get it out of the way of the sub. Weird thing about this though, on measure 8 of this progression, they actually play different notes. This is playing D, this is playing F sharp. Don't ask me why, it just works. That's the truth of the matter. Then we have a bunch of stuff fading into the melody. I'll go over the stuff that fades in, and then I'll go over the melody, and then I'll go over everything behind it. So here's the stuff that fades in. This is a citrus bell, so I'm not really going to go over the sound design behind it because it's just trial and error, basically. This is a trick, however, that I learned from AU5 for this kind of music, where you can automate an arpeggiator, and then it does the, like, you know, like that kind of thing, which was an effect I really liked, and I just heard over this section, so I did it. This audio clip is that exported to audio, and it's as a failsafe, because sometimes when I go to this section and I export it, this just simply doesn't play until here, and it sounds really weird if this just hits on the downbeat but isn't like faded in that way. So I just have this here in case. Okay. There's also just some water Foley. This was scrapped, so I'll get into it when we do the melody. And then there's also this chord stack that fades in. This chord stack is so annoying, by the way. let's just go over it one by one. This is your typical supersaw thing. It has two layers where one of them is the chord and one of them is a lead that just goes da da. So here's the chord. Here's the lead. Here's them together. Right. Then we have all these effects on it. Most of it's just distortion and EQ, and these EQ shapes are pretty extreme, like this one. There's also like this. Don't ask me why I have 3 EQs in a row. That's just how my workflow is. And then we also have this guy on here. It's only really doing the hyper, so without that it sounds like this. With it, it sounds like this. Just some extra like super sawness to it. Another EQ, a convolver that is just a like normal convolver. I was just messing around with it to shape it a little. Sorry. This EQ, right? And then a balance that gets automated on and off depending on the section. Like I think I turn it off going into the drop right here. So like little things like that. I'll get back to that when it becomes important. That's that. Sweep the bells and that. Okay, let's go over the melody. So this is the melody. That's me playing Barry, by the way. I'm trying to find the file for this because I know I exported it as a PDF so that I could print it, but I need to find the scores folder for MuseScore, which I thought was in Documents, but apparently it's not. Oh, MuseScore 4 scores. Okay, that's the wrong folder. It's in MuseScore 3. MuseScore 3 scores. COA solos. Really? I must not have saved this. You would think I would. Can I search COA and just see if it comes up? Oh, here it is. Okay. Give it a second. I'm loading it. Oh, I'm gonna have to do something weird with this. Can I full screen this? Okay, good. Here is it. Right. Long story short, this is an E flat instrument, not a C instrument. So the song is in D, and I go C, D, C, B flat, A, F, E, D, C sharp, D, G sharp, A, G, F sharp, D, C sharp, D, G, F, E flat, C. So that's the melody. What it is it's approach note resolved from the 7th. Then we have our 1, and we just have this descending line down here. And then I start, when we hit the E flat, no, the E half diminished add flat 9 chord here. That's crazy. I didn't realize that was the chord there, but that is what it is. So when we hit that chord, I've hit the flat 9 in the melody. Then we have our E. Once again, E flat instrument, so this is all transposed down a third in the sheet music. Then we do D, and then it's this weird like chromatic turnaround thing I like to do a lot, especially over dominant chords, which isn't what's going on here. but it's what I like to do. So this chromatic turnaround here, and then honestly, I don't know the difference between Appoggiatura and just like a typical chromatic approach note, but this is a chromatic approach note to the 5. This all happens over the G chord, which is a plagal cadence to this D major here. So here's the D major, this D major chord. I hit the 5 in the melody, and I couldn't choose between playing Lydian or playing major over this. It looks like in this version I play major. But in like, it's also really cool to play Lydian. So when I switched to the major 7 chord, I think I had envisioned mostly Lydian, but for this version I did major. Since I play this chord progression when I get bored in a practice room. So we switch into major, we do this downward walk, and then we have this all is just an approach, like a cadence of sorts to the flat 2, and then our 7/9 chord, where that's the lead out. I'll get to this version that I do later in the song when we get to it. So that's like way more theory than is necessary, but long story short, it starts in D minor, switches into Phrygian. No, starts in D minor, switches into Lydian here. Why doesn't this sound? Oh. That's the Lydian shift, and then we go into double harmonic minor or Phrygian sometimes here. Okay. Baritone saxophone sound design. This was really annoying to work with, quite frankly. The problem with this is, you'll notice I displace a bunch of takes, which sounds really weird for how easy this melody is. The problem is, this was the first day I'd used this reed, and I didn't realize just how much I had to break it in, because I switched brands from just like garbage. I think they're Royal. I was using like a Royal 3. And then today I decided to use today is in the day I was recording this, I used a Van Doren 2.5. And those take a lot longer to break in, and I didn't know that. So by this point, we had soaked it in water for like an hour, and I was still like, you can hear by the time I hit this note, I'm completely out of breath. Yeah, so this took like 30 minutes to get this good. Eventually it worked, but it was, here it is without any post-processing. The first set of effects on this is a compressor, some reverb, and a distortion module. And then there's a bunch of scrapped effects because originally I kind of got rejected because this sounded Casio. This is what they said, this baritone saxophone solo here, which is fair, honestly. And so I went back and workshopped it a little bit, but I was really frustrated by this sound. Little distortion. The convolver is mostly around this part here, so it adds just a lot of like low mids to it, which makes it just a little lighter. Wave shaper, just tiny bit of distortion. If you want to hear the stuff I scrapped, it sounds like this with it. Then we have all the other effects. I'm not going to get into it. It's more of the same. It's just like EQs, compression, stereo thinning, actually. This is cool. Because this is the main sound, I wanted it to be very centered. Not like fully centered where it sounds fake, but more centered in my mix so that the like atmospheric stuff could be in the background, but this I wanted to be front and center. more EQs and compression and such. This, one of these compressors, I think it's this one, is cutting out all the background noise that I don't want when it's too quiet. So just something to keep in mind, a nice trick that I use. And then some more reverb. This was originally going to be layered with this sound that also got scrapped, but it would sound like this. Yeah, that's just a typical like high pass super saw kind of lead. There was also going to be a Reese that's playing this melody, but I eventually replaced it with this one. Alright, two other things in this section. The entire chord pad stack from the drop. This is like drowned in reverb as well. And it has the spiff trick on it. But yeah. And then we also have this guy. There is some interesting stuff going on with this, but it's basically just water sounds and granular. Why isn't this sounding? That's why. So, okay, here it is. Right. So here's this one. Here it is without any effects. Basically, compression, high pass, reverb. I'll get back to what this does in a second, and then just to make sure it doesn't blend over to other sections, this volume automation is like the one for the chord stack. As I said, I'll cover that automation when I get to it. This patcher, for those of you who don't know what an auto pan does, it rapidly makes the sound switch from your left to right speaker, and then I'm just randomizing the speed of that. Then we also have this guy. Sounds like this without any effects. Just some compressors to keep it like consistent volume. And then a bunch of post-processing. The reason I did this one in phase plant with a sample is because I have done, it's from this preset where I make some like cool Foley noises like that. So yeah, that's the water granular. And then if we play that with like the bells, right? This automation clip is automating distortion on the chord, by the way. We have a bunch of water noises in the background for the sake of having water noises in the background. Okay, now we get to this section. This, honestly, I think is the most involved build-up section, but it does reuse a lot of sounds from other sections, so I'll play those first. Or I'll go through those first, and then I'll talk about the new ones. That bugged me. I'm going to start it where it's supposed to start. by the way, these automation clips here, the volume ones, these are the clips for like the chord stack and the lead and those balances that I didn't get the chance to talk about before. So, here are the sounds that are used from things I've done before. This is from Clockwork. This is the kick. This is the water sounds from before. This is the drop pad that I used in the beginning. This is that don 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 from the drop with a bunch of post-processing. This is the pad from the drop as well. This is also that same sound from the drop, but a lot louder. The reason that is because of all of these automation clips. Like if we play these with all the necessary automation clips, it sounds like this. Like just a ton of like distortion, reverb, all this stuff fading in. Other things that are recycled from other sections. Drums from the drop. Hold on. We also have the kick sidechain, and I'm only triggering it on the loudest ones because I can. This as well. This, I believe, is hi-hats. Yeah. These are all the same hi-hats from the drop. This is like that one really annoying sampler that I use that's just a lazy method, if you remember that. With some volume. Oh yeah, this Reese is the one from the drop. God, that's such a good Reese bass. Oh my god. Oh, here we go. What else? I'll get back to bass design and all of that in a bit. I feel like I'm missing something. Okay, a lot of these basses are recycled from the drop as well. So let's talk about that. Let's just go over the organization of this section. I knew I wanted to have a weird transition section because it's hard to make like the slowest section I've ever made sync with the fastest section I've ever made. Right? So I needed kind of a transition section that would work. This took me like 3 days to come up with, and it's just the kind of thing that just hit me one night. Like it wasn't like I was thinking about it. And I knew I wanted to go boom, boom. And then I just kind of tried like experimenting with the flow from there. So I eventually came up with this one. Right. And it's just kind of figuring out how to fill the space and keep this section interesting. So this like sub bass here, this is directly taken from the drop, as well as this sound. Right, this guy. Those are all directly taken from the drop. I also layer it with. So we have. Right. The things that are layered in here include Contact, Project Sam, Free Orchestra, Bombastic Basses, Contact, Ferrum, Modern Trailer Percussion, Free Edition. And apparently this guy. Okay. Oh, I have him twice. That's fun. But yeah, so it's that layer. And then we have, like, if I take out all the stuff that's layered in, that's just like pads in the background, it becomes a lot more obvious what's going on and how little things fit. Right. These basses are taken directly from the drop. This is the lead from the drop, but I do some extra special things with it, if I remember correctly. No, this isn't the lead from the drop. First off, we just have this guy, by the way. This lead's weird, actually. Da, da, da. So here's what it is without any post-processing. So we got EQ, a crazy distortion. Trash is really powerful, like destroying a sound, which is kind of what I wanted. I wanted a lead similar to the one in my Stabs remix, and Trash was how I got that. So here it is. I have this super massive because that's what I did on the drop lead that made it sound the way it does. Another EQ, a spreader that is making it more mono. Actually, it's just doing weird stuff. I think it's pushing it further outward. Yeah, it's pushing it further outward, apparently, than an EQ and a distortion. Then the effects on here include a lot. What isn't there? Okay. Boop, 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 boop. So it's just more compression, distortion. This patcher is apparently from the like drop, you know, the hit at the end. This might straight up just be the post-processing chain from the drop. I'm not sure. The other thing that I'm doing here that's a little weird is I'm automating a bunch of stuff. So I'm automating the volume, and I have a slide note in here. So it's going da da da, where it like goes down a bit. It goes down just a tiny bit, just to keep it interesting. More of the same, more of the same. Okay. And then just everything fades in the end. This bass that's playing here is the lead from the drop layered with the first bass of the drop, just distorted like heck. Okay. Never mind, it's just the bass, and there's also this guy. Oh, it's a sub. Okay, this is like a sub. This just isn't playing. Okay. It's just the first bass of the drop, like distorted and changed slightly. We also have the hit from the end of the drop reversed. So then all of that together with the distortion on the master just starts clipping like hell. That's crazy. Okay, then we have this section. Originally this was made in the first project, but it's all the same sounds, so it shouldn't be hard. my god, I love this section. Whenever I listen to this section, I have that moment of like, oh, I just made it like a good song. Dang. My personal favorite part of this section, you can't even hear it, but it's this guy. It's such a cool melody. It's this phase plant. I don't even know what's going on here. What? I was just playing around with like FM stuff until I got a cool lead. Distortion, EQ, adding a layer that's pitched an octave up, EQ, distortion, EQ, compression, reverb, stereo widening, and then, yeah. Once again, my phase plants are always just overcomplicated. Just kind of do whatever, you know, is around here, I think. So that's that lead. It's super quiet. And then we also have this guy. It's basically just noise with a phaser on it, and then I have it play chords because it used to be a chord pad, but I basically high-passed out all of the chord and made it inaudible. But yeah, so then we have... This section has basically all of the same things. It does, however, kill my computer starting here. And I want you all to know that before we get there, because I played that Reese from before with a bunch of extra effects on it, and you're going to watch this just die. Yeah, so thing to note is this chord progression is slightly different. It is D major, E flat major over G, D major, E flat major, C minor actually. This last chord is C minor. Slightly different chord progression. Let's look at the sheet music. 1, 5, 3. So D, A, F sharp. Pick up of a D to then the B flat, G. Chromatic approach, D, A. D, A, B flat, G, E flat. Don't. So it's just like arpeggiating the chords. It was just a melody that I heard in my head. Let's talk about this guy. Yeah, there's a lot here. So, this sound. Here it is without any post-processing, of course. Then we have all this post-processing. Oh! Wait, no. Okay, now here it is without any post-processing. Here's it with all the post-processing it has in the drop. Then I have this patcher, which includes a multi-band delay that I'm modulating. Never mind, I'm not modulating, it's just doing phase dispersion. Vocodex. Another EQ. This frequency shifter is what's giving it the phasing motion. So if we just play the multi-band delay. Here's just the vocodex. Here's just the EQ. Here's just the frequency shifter. Another trick I learned from AU5, but yeah, and then just more reverb. So that's that. We have basically all the same things fading in from before, but just more. We have a wave shaper on the master that I'm modulating to be louder. And then this drop is just... It's just like the same kinds of sounds before, just used as fade-ins, essentially. And then we have the hit at the end, and then we're done. Naturally, there's a lot of like tiny details that go into these basses with like mastering, but I just don't want to get into that because it's a lot of just getting the knobs in the right spots, and leveling, and that's not really the kind of thing you teach. It's just the kind of thing that you say, this is what I was going for, which what I was going for was consistent volume across this section, and like a bunch of small details in the drops, similar things, but you got all the stuff that's unique to this song in these videos, and that's what matters. Geez, this project file is massive. This song took 3 times as long as Monorail or She Who Commands the Stillness. In fact, I think She Who Commands the Stillness... No, this took 3 times as long as both those, since both those were around, I think, 12 hours. But at the same time, this was done in 3 sets where I was like still thinking about it a lot, so it felt like even more. But yeah. Unlike the part 1, which I recorded about a week before the song premiered, I'm recording this after the song premiered, so I'm just going to give my final thoughts. The process of making this song was really hard because I was very emotionally invested in it. It was the first time I deemed a song good enough to submit somewhere. And originally I actually got rejected because there were a lot of like stereo issues and mixing things with my song, just because I've never done that side of production really before. And it messed me up. But I talked with the team, they helped me, we got the song fixed. I got on Found Sound, and the premiere was crazy because I'd listened to a couple of those songs, like From the Blood with Which We Were Soon, Song of Silence I heard, but like half the songs on that album were insane to me. And when it was premiering, it got to my song, and what was going through my head was like, I don't really deserve to be here, was how it felt, and I just remember I was in that premiere chat, like talking about the song, and we got to this section, which I knew is like, this is the section of the song. This section makes the song. The second half of the first drop, right? That makes the song. And so I was really worried when that started playing. I was shaking. 'Cause if people didn't express excitement in the chat for that, then the song completely missed, was how it felt. And those producers from those songs that I looked up to, Eskv, Freezy, Sonami. Oh my god, why do they all end with I? Sonami is Kai Tremonti, by the way. Even just the listeners in the chat, everyone was in there like, this mixdown is crazy. This section is so cool. And I was just sitting there like, oh my god, I did it. Like, I'm sitting here, this is the first comp I've ever gotten on. I barely got on, it felt like they let me on sort of out of pity, in a sense. But I got on, and I'm nowhere near the top of the comp, There's like 2L and L and Arcerian, and Author Unknown and Fehu, and those collabs are just on another level. But like, the response to this song has generally been across the board from everyone I've talked to. It's in the top half, which is so encouraging to me. I've been producing for the last 6 years in a lot of very small communities where there weren't really standards for what you made. So because people were focusing on being supportive of each other more than being honest, I guess, for lack of a better way of phrasing it. But because there was so much of a focus on being supportive, I had no idea whether or not people actually deemed my music as like good. And so for the first time, I submitted to a label. I got rejected initially, right? And that hit hard because it was my first experience when there was standards, and it felt like I failed. Technically, it wasn't a rejection, it was rework. But it implies like I would have barely gotten in if I fixed the things, was sort of how it felt. But I fixed the things because I was like, I want to be a part of this, it would be so cool. And like, just, I felt like their feedback was good too. Like, it was stuff that I was like, I can see that. And I think it would be helpful for the song as a whole if I went back and fixed that. So I did. And I got in, and for the first time in my 6 years of production, people actually talked about my music. And like, my friends, the people who I know tell me that my music is good, but they know me. They know the person who made the music, so I don't know how much I can trust their judgment. In the case of this, like, I checked Safe and Sound Discord the day this song premiered, and at 8 in the morning, someone had already ranked the entire comp, and I wasn't expecting to get very high, In fact, I expected to get very low. And that person said, Cave of Antiquities 7.7, it's number 12, was where they ranked it. This isn't my thing, but if it were, it would be much higher. And I was like, you rated my song higher than I expected, and then you said if it was your thing, you would rate it higher. Like, it was so encouraging to hear that. The song premiered, and everyone, the chat went crazy. People messaged me later, like, that song was super cool and unique. Even Sonami, Kai Tremonti, they were like, I love this song, but it was so hard to program because it was unique. They even made a joke about it the night before, about how it was stuck in their head while they were trying to fall asleep. Specifically, this section. And so I just wanted to say, like, I'm just so grateful to be a part of this community. My mental health got in the way of this song a lot and everything related to this song. And if you want more context on that, you can check the SoundCloud comments for this song. But now that I'm here, now that I've gotten that encouragement and people like showing me that they do care about what I make, even if it's a small amount of people, just it means so much to me. It's so encouraging, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you to everyone who watched this whole video to get this far. You are the people I'm talking to when I say that. And I just, I hope that I can bring more cool music to the world. And I hope I can make people's days better with it. So, thank you all.